Thanks for checking out this video. So here I go. I'm going to rank all of the Vinegar Syndrome films that I ended up getting for the May releases. And I didn't, there's additional one that I didn't purchase. I am a subscriber, so I will always be reviewing the ones that are included for subscribers each month. But then I will also include ones that I purchase on top of that for that month, which it won't be all of them. So like, I didn't get Lifeline, the one that's supposed to be kind of like a backdraft ripoff kind of from, I think, Hong Kong. I mean, it looked good, but it's just not my thing. Maybe I'll see it down the road. But anyway, gonna go over these releases. How many of them are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 releases that I did end up going through, and I watched the movies. I went through all the special features. I read all the essays if they were included, and I do not do the commentaries though. The main reason being it would take way too much time for me to go through every single commentary. So I won't really be commenting on the commentaries. It's funny terminology, but I want to make this video not ridiculously long, so I won't be spending a ton of time talking about all the special features and everything. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. This is ranked in the order of the first one being the one that I was least into, and the last one being the one that I think was the best release of the month. So coming in at number 7, the one that I think was the weakest release, but I still liked, is the double feature of Criminally Insane and Satan's Black Wedding. These are Nick Millard films. So I'll start with the weaker of the two. Satan's Black Wedding. Basically, it's about a guy whose sister ends up committing suicide, and he goes to her town to kind of see what's going on and believes that, oh no, maybe there's actually vampires here, basically. And it's a very slow film, and that's the reason I wasn't a big fan of it. There is some, like, so bad it's good acting in there for people who like that type of stuff, and I did find myself enjoying that from time to time, but there's not like a ton of story to it. It is pretty slow, and I just wasn't a huge fan of it. Now, on the other hand, Criminally Insane, I do like. I'd seen this film before, and this is obviously the best looking it's been. Nick Millard's collection, they got his entire collection of films, and they weren't kept very well. There's actually a disclaimer in the beginning saying that they weren't kept in great condition, so there's a lot of damage. So they did what they could with cleaning it up. So I had watched the version I had watched a few years ago of Criminally Insane. I think I just found on YouTube, and it looked way worse than what this is. So they did what they could. But Criminally Insane is a lot of fun. It's a movie that is about a woman who was in a psychiatric ward because she was having issues, and she is basically driven insane, as it says, criminally insane, by the fact that her grandmother, who she ends up moving in with, does not want her to eat too much because everyone starts commenting on her weight. She's too overweight. You know, she needs to eat less, but she's very driven by her eating. And the one thing that starts driving her to killing people is eating. And then also on top of that, people potentially finding out that she killed her grandmother. And then it just becomes this kind of like, it's a chain effect where she just keeps killing all these people. It's very low budget. It's very ridiculous. The practical effects are terrible. The acting is terrible, but it's a lot of fun. But Priscilla Alden, who plays the main character, does a really cool job with it. It's not like she was an awesome actress. It's just that she is her performance is interesting and just fun, in my opinion, and that's really what drives the film forward. All of her scenes are just fun. It's very interesting, and like this is a really good, in my opinion, like so bad it's good film. So, but the release overall is taken down by the fact that, you know, Satan's Black Wedding's in there, and it's just not all that great. But as far as the special features go, I'm gonna look real quick and see if there are any in particular. They have Remains to Be Seen. It's a featurette produced by Vinegar Syndrome with Nick Millard. Yeah, they have some interviews with Nick Millard, which are interesting to hear him kind of talk about how he did his films and everything. Interview with Stephen Thrower on Criminally Insane and Satan's Black Wedding. He is very smart, very knowledgeable, and he's always a joy to listen to. So those special features were actually really cool to hear him kind of break down how these films came to be and kind of Nick Millard's career in general, actually. It's a pretty long one. I think it was like almost 50 minutes long, basically. So yeah, those are the main special features on it. So yeah. Still good though. Like I wouldn't watch Satan's Black Wedding again, but I'll definitely watch Criminally Insane again. So that's why it's my number 7. So coming in at number 6, this was not that was an included one. This is not an included one with the subscribership, and that is Navy SEALs. Mainly bought this because the trailer made it look like it had some fun action to it, and it had Charlie Sheen in it, which I like Charlie Sheen's performances for some reason. So this one, it's basically a ripoff of, Top Gun. It's basically a ripoff of Top Gun, but it's about Navy SEALs. So the interesting thing is, with the special features, them talking about like the importance of this film as far as making Navy SEALs kind of more recognized in cinema. So that's one of the cool things that came out of the special features for this film. But going back a little bit, the film basically is about a bunch of Navy SEALs. They go on a mission where they find out during the course of their mission, we found that there are some stolen United States Stinger missiles. What happened here? So they try to investigate it further. There's some additional twists and everything in there, but it's mainly about the action sequences, about going after the bad guys, terrorists in this situation, and dispatching them, basically. So it's about the action, but there's a lot of like weird there's a lot of kind of different types of characters in it, including Charlie Sheen is the very unstable one, very fitting, obviously. And his character is probably the most interesting. The most interesting parts of this movie, in my opinion, are when they're not in action, when they're not actually doing their job, and when it's not the action sequences. It's more when they're trying to kind of relax and cut loose. That's when you get the quirkier, fun things, in my opinion. But I'm not quite sure this is a movie that I'd end up watching again. Maybe in the right circumstance. But so as far as the special features, Real SEALs, director Louis Teague on bringing authenticity to Navy SEALs. That was interesting because I believe Teague himself was in the military. True Blue, screenwriter Gary Goldman on bringing Navy SEALs to life. No, actually, sorry, it was the screenwriter Gary Goldman. He was actually, I think, in the Navy. Louis Teague, I'm not 100% sure on anymore, but very interesting to hear from Goldman because he was talking about how there were different iterations of the script and like how it got from point A to point B, or point Z at that point. A touch of patriotism, actor Nicholas Cady on portraying the Ben Shahid. That was interesting. He talked a lot about his career. That was kind of cool. And Medal of Honor, writer and film historian Walter Chaw on the career of Louis Teague and Navy SEALs. I like those ones where they talk about like the careers of people, because those are usually very interesting because they're covering other films as well, and it will give you an idea of, do you want to see more films from this director, basically. So as far as the Navy SEALs booklet, a bunch of essays in this. The first essay is I'm with the teams. This was not a good essay, in my opinion. Typically, their essays are great. This was the first essay I've read from Vinegar Syndrome that's not a good one. Basically, all it did is recap stuff that happened in the movie. So it really added nothing. So it was a pretty pointless essay, unfortunately. But there were 2 other essays in here that I thought were actually quite good. The next one is Paid to Die If Necessary, an appreciation of Louis Teague's Navy SEALs. This was kind of talking about kind of how the film came to be and the people involved with it, and Louis Teague himself and how he kind of influenced the film. That one was good, like a nice kind of scholarly essay. And then the other one was Navy SEALs. Also a really cool one, talking about like the significance of this film as it pertains to Navy SEALs in film, basically. And yeah, very enlightening, very good. So 2 of the 3 essays quite good. One of them not good at all, in my opinion. But overall, pretty good. This is a good release. This is a great release for people who like this film. It's just I'm not a huge fan of the film. It was okay-ish. So that's why it is my number 6 release. Now going to my number 5 release. This one was a lot of fun, and actually, this is my first Chuck Norris film I've actually ever watched. I know that'll make some people kind of gasp, but in a sense, it'll be like, "What?" Invasion USA, and this is a 4K. Actually, Navy SEALs was also a 4K, just so people know. Invasion USA, also a 4K. Looks great. I mean, as you would assume, it's a 4K done by Vinegar Syndrome. This one is fun. This is the type of action I really like. It's just like ridiculous, over the top, some interesting scenarios they set up in the fight scenes. It's basically a movie about Chuck Norris's character just trying to live his life, right? I think in Florida, like the Everglades of Florida, basically. And then all of a sudden, there are these terrorists who want to invade the United States, hence Invasion USA, and they decide he's a big threat, so they start trying to go after him first. They think they neutralized him, but they didn't. And one man army. Chuck Norris is a one man army. He takes everyone out. It is ridiculous because it's one man against an entire terrorist army, and it's ridiculous. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. One of my favorite scenes has to do with this extended fighting that happens in a mall. That was cool. I got things from malls and movies, but yeah, that was my favorite part. So anyway, as far as like special features go, Operation Invasion USA, an interview with director Joseph Zito. Very interesting to hear from him. He's done some other really good films. He did like a Friday the 13th film. And yeah, did he do Maniac? I think he may have directed Maniac, but no, that was William Lustig, I think. But anyway, it was just very interesting to hear his take on what he wanted the film to be versus what it became. Writing the Real Thing, an interview with screenwriter James Brunner. That was interesting because he kind of talked about the different iterations of the script and what it was originally supposed to be versus what it ended up becoming. Initially, it was actually supposed to be like Chuck Norris doing like martial arts stuff, but Chuck Norris didn't want to do it, so it had to be totally changed around. He wanted to be more an action star than like a martial arts star at this point. The stories we're telling, an interview with editor Dan Lowenthal, interesting enough. Heroic Moments, an interview with composer Jay Chataway. It's always interesting to hear like the composer ones because you don't think a lot when you're watching the movie about the impact of the score on the film, so those are typically interesting. It's in the Eyes, an interview with actress Melissa Prophet. That was decent. Do You Like Talking? An interview with actor James Pax. Also decent. Canon Carnage, an archival featurette on the makeup effects of Invasion USA. That one was very interesting, especially because some of the people involved were like, it was like, why am I blanking on his name? Greg Nicotero and Tom Savini were involved. And Baker. His last name I think is Baker, who's involved in KB. I don't remember the acronym, but Greg Nicotero's effects company, his partner. So I didn't know that they did the effects in that. So hearing from them was particularly awesome, and I had no idea it was them. So it was a great surprise. And then Loose Cannon's archival interview with screenwriter James Brunner. So it's just like a little extra since he's been interviewed twice, basically. But oh yeah, and there also was a booklet in here, and it's one essay, but it's a really cool essay, honestly. I'll tell you what it's called. Cannon Invades the USA is what the essay is called. It's a great essay about the Cannon production company and how they did things, how they handled making and trying to sell films in the United States, their origin story, where they ended up going from there. Really interesting essay. I really love that essay. It's weird because it is connected to Invasion USA, but it also kind of stands on its own, not connected to Invasion USA. So this is a good release. I really like this, and obviously 4K, which is fun. So yeah, that's why it's my number 5. I'm losing my count. So yeah, Invasion USA, my number 5. My number 4 is another double feature here. China O'Brien films. Love me some Cynthia Rothrock, so I was very excited for this one. I love her style of martial arts. She always does really cool things in her films. So these films were basically to try and get her to be a bigger name in the US because she was already a big name in Hong Kong. It didn't quite take off, but hey, we have these films now. And the first one is fun. The films were done concurrently. which is, because they wanted to save money. So the second one, honestly, is not that good. And actually, in her interview on here, Rothrock was even talking about how on days they didn't know what film they were shooting for. She was like, wait, is this she's like, I literally don't know if the scene is for the first China O'Brien or China O'Brien 2. They seem very similar, which makes a lot of sense. Apparently there wasn't really much of any script to either of them, also per Cynthia Rothrock. So yeah, you can see that. But basically the first China O'Brien is about a woman who's like an awesome cop in New York, and she has an incident where she ends up wanting to turn in her badge and kind of go back home and just be with family and in her hometown, which is like a small rural town in like the Midwest-ish area. I think it looks like Wyoming-ish or something. I don't remember exactly where it was, but she's there and then finds out, oh no, since I've been gone, there's a crime element that's popped up, and her father is the sheriff, and she wants to help out, and she ends up getting involved with some other people who end up helping her out, and they're just trying to clean up the town. It's fun. I love the setting of it. I love a lot of the fight scenes. The first one, that is. When you get to the second China O'Brien, the fight scenes aren't nearly as interesting. They seem really kind of like lazy in comparison to the first one. It's like they had all their good stuff for the first one, and the second one was just kind of like, yeah, and then we'll do this follow-up, whatever. But the characters are interesting, they're quirky, they're ridiculous, the fights are great, which, that's what you want. So as far as the special features go, what do we have here? Interview with Cynthia Rothrock, which I will watch any interview with her because she is a wealth of knowledge. It's ridiculous to me that she remembers as much as she does about all the films that she does. She always has really cool stories about it. Worthwhile Journey in Martial Arts of China O'Brien. It's a featurette with actors Richard Norton, Keith Cook, and Chris Casamassa. So it was interesting to hear their take on what happened with the filming and their role in the film. Melanie Good is Stripper Assassin, brand new interview with actress Melanie Good, who really only had like one scene in it, so it's kind of like obscure, but it was all right. Casting China. Oh my gosh, I almost said that. Casting China. A brand new interview with casting director Katrine McGregor. That was interesting to find out about casting. You don't get those types of special features very often. Composing China, brand new featurette with composers David Wheatley and Paul Antonelli. That was interesting. Making of a martial arts movie, archival making of documentary on China O'Brien, added a little bit extra. Archival video interview with Cynthia Rothrock and Richard Norton, and that's from Cynthia Rothrock's YouTube channel, and also another one with Cynthia Rothrock, courtesy of her YouTube channel, and those were cool. So like anything Cynthia Rothrock, as far as special features goes, is going to be awesome, and it is. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she seems like such a nice person. Okay, so then there were essays, and I really like these essays. This was Legacy of Blonde Rage, and it was basically about her and her role with like Golden Harvest and her popularity in Hong Kong, and then how she kind of tried to get into the market in the United States and how that didn't really go very well, but also about, her popularity within Hong Kong. So that was a really good essay. Really enjoyed that one. Then there's Black Belts and Ballots, Robert Klaus's China O'Brien. So this is about kind of the creation of China O'Brien, where they were trying to take the film and how they were trying to get it to endear itself basically to U.S. audience, and how that went. Didn't. But really cool information on like some behind the scenes stuff of making the film. And then A Star Isn't Born, how two film industries failed the Queen of Action. Again, this is one kind of talking about China O'Brien's career and the trajectory of it, and how, again, like she really tried to get a foothold in the United States and it just didn't work out. And she even had like the opportunity to I think be in a movie with Stallone at one point, and then that didn't go through, and that was going to be like her big break. So really great essays, really great special features with this one. This is a great release. I really like this a lot. If you're a if you're a Cynthia Rothrock fan, China O'Brien's a character, Carlin, you will enjoy this release. So it's good. Now, that was my number 4. Now going to number 3 is 3 movies. Homegrown Horrors Volume 3. I like this one a lot. This is a lot of fun. One of the reasons it's as high up as it is because you're not going to see these movies unless it gets released by someone like Vinegar Syndrome for the most part, because these are regional slasher films that, otherwise really wouldn't be seen. So let's go through each one of them. We have the first one in there being Haunted Ween, which was one that some people had kind of known about. This one's fun. It's about a death that happens at a haunted house, and then years later, the person who is involved with it ends up coming back, as there is a fraternity that decides they want to have a haunted house at that same house where someone had died before, and it's supposed to be like haunted. And yeah, people get offed. It's terrible acting. It's kind of ridiculous. It's not great practical effects, but it has so much heart to it, and it's a good time. It's a lot of fun. If you like kind of like So Bad It's Good films, or you just like regional slashers, you'll really like this. Has on it Capturing the Horrors interview with producer, cinematographer, editor Corey Lash. Very interesting to kind of get behind the scenes from that individual. Say Cheese and Die interview with first camera assistant Michael Reff. That was solid about how they decided to shoot it. All Hallows Eve interview with production assistant Emery Schroeder. That was interesting to kind of get their take on things that were going on the set. And there's a re-edited 85-minute version of Haunted Ween, and then the Making of Haunted Ween archival documentary, which is a lot of kind of like showing on the set, like video footage of what they were doing. So this is the strongest one. Wow, it's kind of tied in my opinion, actually. This is one of the strongest ones, one of two strongest ones in the set, and I really liked Haunted Ween. This one's a really good one. The next one is the one that I liked the least, and I am not going to watch again, is Deadly Love. There's always like a weak link in these sets, but this is clearly the weak link, but I know some people will like it. It's basically about a woman who has this biker boyfriend who comes onto her property late at night, and he ends up getting shot because he's there late at night. He dies, and she then ends up committing suicide eventually. Her niece shows up and wants to kind of look into things and finds out that her aunt kind of claims that she figured out a way to bring her boyfriend back with like this magic ritual, and then people end up getting killed because it's a horror film. So the acting's So Bad It's Good at times, so that's kind of enjoyable, but the story's not that compelling, honestly, and it's very, very, very slow. There's not enough that goes on, in my opinion. Bad pacing. Commentary, it has comedy. All these have commentary tracks. I'm just not talking about them because I'm not going to talk about them. Great Times We Had interview with actress Kelly O'Rourke. That was interesting enough. Deadly Cuts interview with editor John Streisick. Here's the Equipment, Figure It Out, an interview with composer, sound recordist Charles Binkley. As the title of that one says, very interesting, though. It's just kind of like, you do it. We don't know how you're supposed to do this. Like, he didn't have a lot of experience, and he just figured it out. Original score recordings. Yeah, okay. So, the special features are the best part of this, in my opinion, because you learn a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, obviously. Excuse me, and that's very interesting. So, yeah. Then the next one, or last one, is Revenge, which I think is on par with Haunted Ween. I did really like Revenge. Sorry, I'm starting to lose some energy, and my voice is starting to get a little gravelly, but collect yourself. Yeah, but Revenge is a fun one. It's basically about a town where some murders are happening, and there's someone who starts looking into it, and they find some connections, and they're starting to think, oh, is there this blood cult in town that has connections to people high up? So it's about finding out what's really going on there, and it's bad acting, but it's a fun time. John Carradine shows up in this. They also got John Wayne's son to be in this film. Pretty interesting. And it's also interesting in the special features how they talk about how interested the locals where they shot were in like Carradine and John Wayne's son being there and everything. They were like, oh, this is like a big time. This is awesome. It's a lot of fun. I like the premise to it. I like the so bad it's good aspects of it. It has some good action to it. This is a really fun one. This is up there with Haunted Ween. I thought that Haunted Ween was probably just going to be like the only good one in the pack, but no. Revenge is really good, and Haunted Ween is really good. Really enjoy it. Um, Commentary track, obviously. Archival commentary track as well, so there's two commentaries for this one. Back for More interview with producer Linda Lewis, solid. Working Her Guts Out, an interview with actress Andrea Dernier. Sorry, messed that name up. That was very interesting to find her take on like making the film and what went on the set. Working, really literally read that one. Revenge is Sweet interview with Bob Blair, VCI president and son of executive producer Bill F. Blair. He ended up getting very emotional about the fact that his father wasn't around anymore and how much this kind of film like means to him and meant to his father, and that was cool. It was cool to kind of hear that stuff. It's always you always hope that you can hear from the people who directly made these things, but if people aren't alive anymore, you end up with what you get, and that's good. That's good that you get something. Because secondhand is better than nothing. So yeah, Homegrown Horrors, really like this box set. I still, of all the movies, I haven't seen the second volume yet. I do own it at the moment. But I've seen the first volume, and I think still my favorite of all the movies is Winter Beast from Volume 1. But this is a nice, solid one, and that's why it's my number 3 for the May releases. Next, we have the Cinematograph release that I did purchase because it looked very interesting, and it had Harvey Keitel in it and Madonna, interestingly enough, and it's by Abel Ferrara, who did Miss 45, and I love Miss 45, so I wanted to see this one. Dangerous Game. This film is great. It's a mess, but it's great. Literally... It's a film where they kind of threw the script out. You learn this from the special features. A lot of people talk about it. Even Abel Ferrara himself basically says that they threw half the script out while they were making the film. They improv'd a lot of the scenes in it. This film is basically about a filmmaker who's from New York who goes to Hollywood and he's trying to make a different kind of movie. He's trying to make it in a different setting, and his struggles trying to do that, but also the struggles of the actors involved who are having a hard time working with him and the type of director he is and how he's trying to pull performances out of them. Things get pushed very far in this, and it's very interesting because based off the special features and the essays in here, it says that basically the movie that's being made within the movie is a reflection of what's going on set, and what's going on set is a reflection of Abel Ferrara and his life. So it's kind of like a movie within a movie within a movie. So it's very interesting to watch it from that perspective. This is one of those films, too, where I thought the movie was good. Harvey Keitel's performance is phenomenal. Madonna does a really good job as well. James Russo is really a little too over the top, but still enjoyable. The scenes are magnetic. The performances are so intense that you can't take your eyes off it. It's not quite to the level of like Andrei Zulawski's Possession as far as those very charged scenes go, but it's not too far off from that. Like it's a few steps below that. Very engaging, and it's legitimately a good film, which is very surprising considering what you hear about it. Like Abel Ferrara said that the first cut he did was 4 hours, so he needed to cut it down. So he literally just like started in the middle of the movie. But it works. Like, it's still very engaging and good. It's wild to me to consider that. But, yeah, this is a great Cinematograph release, in my opinion. They have the booklet in here. Well, I guess I can tell you the special features first. They have the audio commentary. New interview with Abel Ferrara, which he's a character and a half. Would love to hear more from him. New interview with actor James Russo. It was interesting to hear his take on how he and Madonna were pushed on set and how those things went, and also working with Harvey Keitel. New audio interview with actress Nancy Ferrara, yes, Abel Ferrara's wife, who plays the wife of Harvey Keitel, the director, in there. So very close to home there. It was interesting to find her take out since she's so close to Abel. Interview with composer Joe D'Elia, interesting. New interview with editor Anthony Redman, that was interesting. Abel Ferreira's Game of Mirrors, a video essay by Alexandra Heller Nicholas, that was very interesting. A very awesome kind of scholarly breakdown of the movie and what it means and the symbolism and everything in it. Yeah, that was cool. Oh, the essays then. I don't want to put it away yet. This is a Blu-ray, not a 4K, by the way. So the first essay in here is Abel Ferreira Beyond New York. Very interesting essay talking about Abel Ferreira's career and how he basically tried to do things that weren't him. And a lot of that happened when he moved out of New York and tried to do films in Hollywood, and how that just didn't mesh for him and what that did to him. So that one's a really good one. Dangerous Game. This is an essay just about the movie Dangerous Game and kind of a lot of the symbolism in there. Very similar to the audio essay, but it gives you different information and trying to figure out like what's actually going on the set here, like some of the existential stuff that comes up in the film, which is very interesting as well. And then the last essay is The Limits of Control, and this is kind of breaking down the control problems that were kind of going on the set and the control problems that the film kind of touches on. Because the film, I guess I can tell you, like the film within the film is basically about a man and a woman who are, their relationship is going downhill because they used to together be into a lot of like debaucherous sex and drugs. And she decides that she's found religion and she doesn't want to go that way anymore. And he's very angry because he wants to keep her in the relationship in the way that she was in it. And he feels like there's too much of a separation for them because she doesn't want to go down this like self-destructive path with him anymore. And it's like a abusive type situation that goes on. So it's kind of hard to watch for some people, but this is one of those movies again where it's a good movie, but all the extra stuff you learn about the issues on set and the meanings behind what was going on and the parallels between the film and Abel Ferreira and what was going on with Madonna, because she hated this movie, and the movie ended up being something totally different than what she was told it was going to be. And there are questions even of like how she was pushed on set and what was actually real emotion versus her actually acting, which is not a good abusive thing, but very fascinating. I really felt compelled to know as much about this as possible. So this is a great release, and that's why it's my number 2 for May. Now my number 1. Some people may know what this is. The Instructor. Bob Chaney in The Instructor. This is a very ridiculous, over-the-top, so bad it's good martial arts film, but it also is kind of good at the same time. It's one of those weird movies that walks that line of being so bad it's good, but also being legitimately good at the same time, because the action is fun, and the very end, particularly the very end of this movie, they go so big. There's like a car chase. They have like a fight in like this dam in Akron, Ohio, that where they shot it. It's wild, man. It's so wild, like how big scale they get at the end of the film, when in the beginning they're not that big scale. But yeah, this one is super fun if you like not great acting and just kind of like ridiculous over the top martial arts stuff. It's basically about a martial arts instructor who has vowed to only use martial arts for defense, but then pops up this rival martial arts school, and there's corruption and crime involved with them. And so he decides, hey, I got to clean this place up. So he gets involved with his partners, and it's mayhem. It's mayhem in the town. So this one is a lot of fun. Really love this. I love an excellent so bad it's good film, especially if it's martial arts. And this is up there. So commentary track, obviously, they have A Journey to Akron, the making of The Instructor, an interview with writer-director Don Bendel, and that was super interesting to hear his passion for this film, what he envisioned. Apparently, initially, Muhammad Ali was supposed to have a small part in it, but he ended up backing out at one point, and they were going to pay him like $500,000 for like 3 days' work. Kind of wild. He talked about how his original budget for the film was all stolen by a crooked dude, and he had to try and raise money again. And I'm glad he was able to, because this film is very fun. And then they have a booklet. There's a poster in it as well, but the booklet has just one essay in it, but it's a good essay. Lessons from the Instructor. And it's just kind of about how the film, more about like how the film came to be, and like its connection to other like action and martial arts type films, and just kind of like the heart behind the film, and why it's like not just the So Bad It's Good film, but it's like a good film. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. This is great. This is such an excellent release, and yeah, I know Vinegar Syndrome had said before they released it, it was their second most request release after Champagne and Bullets, and I see why. Like, I love Champagne and Bullets. I own it. It's a wonderful So Bad It's Good. This one is very much up there, but it's also kind of a good movie, which is not what Champagne and Bullets is, but super awesome. Really highly recommend The Instructor. So that's it. I'm exhausted. For anyone who got any of these, or from what you're hearing from me, what are you most interested in? What did you like the most? And what am I missing as far as Vinegar Syndrome goes that I should really be checking out? Go ahead and put it in the comments. Or if you just want to talk about any of these movies or anything, comments. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. That's your best way to repay me and keep me motivated. Also, hit the notification bell button if you want to know when my videos are coming out. And you can thumbs up on this video and any video I do to help me with that ridiculous YouTube algorithm. But regardless, thank you very much for taking your time to watch this, especially if you've made it to this point, because you sat through, we're getting close to 40 minutes here of me just jabbering about movies. So I really appreciate that. But until next time, keep it brutal.